Welcome to the 6th episode of AI Horror Stories, the only anthology podcast that explores the eerie and unsettling capabilities of artificial intelligence through the lens of gut-wrenching narrative horror. I am your host, Matthew T. Robinson, and I am joined by my legendary co-host, Elizabeth Greenwald.
Legendary? Definitely.
Together, we'll drag you into the world of the unknown, where you'll witness nightmares so scintillating, so surreal, that they could only have come from the mind of a cold and calculating machine. So prepare yourself for a descent into darkness, where every shadow hides a new terror and every whisper is a warning of impending doom. This is AI Horror Stories.
Hello, listeners.
Oh, no, not this week, little buddy. You need to learn the concept of speaking when spoken to.
But Elizabeth...
I've got this.
Wait, what did you do? What is that?
It's the machine's remote control. It was still in the box. See here, a mute button.
Oh, well, okay, now I kind of feel bad.
Here, watch. AI horror robot, are you ready to generate a story for this week's episode without giving us an attitude? I'll take that as a yes.
Okay, I give up. What kind of story would you like?
I'd like to hear a story about a team of academics presenting a research proposal titled Earth 2.0.
Generating.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests, I'm truly honored to welcome you to the first annual Social Interaction and Behavioral Dynamics Symposium. My name is Dr. Oliver Blackwood, and I have the great privilege of being your host for today's proceedings. This symposium is a remarkable gathering of bright minds, passionate about understanding the complexities of human behavior and social interactions, with the ultimate goal of contributing to a better future for us all. In an increasingly interconnected and rapidly changing world, understanding the intricacies of human behavior, social dynamics, and the impact of these interactions on our global community has never been more vital. As such, we have assembled a stellar lineup of 5 teams, each consisting of 2 exceptional doctors, to present their groundbreaking research proposals. These talented researchers have been tirelessly working to provide innovative insights and solutions to some of the planet's most pressing problems. From exploring the effects of social media on mental health to investigating methods for fostering empathy and reducing prejudice, our esteemed presenters will delve into the depths of human psychology to illuminate potential paths for a more harmonious and equitable society. Over the course of today's symposium, we will embark on a stimulating intellectual journey as each team unveils the intricacies of their research proposals. They will not only present their methodologies and findings, but also engage in a thought-provoking discussion with our audience, fostering an environment of academic exchange and mutual growth. Our collective goal is to inspire and challenge one another, advancing the understanding of human behavior and social dynamics to new frontiers. Once again, welcome to the first annual Social Interaction and Behavioral Dynamics Symposium. I am confident that today's proceedings will prove to be an enriching and rewarding experience for all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to introduce our first team of distinguished presenters for today. We are indeed privileged to have with us Dr. Emily Grayson and Dr. Jackson Hartwell, 2 accomplished experts who have made significant contributions to their respective fields. Dr. Grayson is a renowned historical sociologist with the Institute of Neurocognitive Sciences, whose work has provided invaluable insights into the social and cultural forces that have shaped societies across the globe. Her research has been instrumental in uncovering the intricate webs of relationships, institutions, and norms that have formed the bedrock of human civilization throughout history.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Joining her is Dr. Jackson Hartwell, a leading psychiatrist and eminent scholar in the field of psychology at the Galaxia Institute of Science. His extensive research has gathered widespread recognition, particularly for his pioneering work on the neurobiological underpinnings of human behavior and the development of innovative therapeutic interventions for mental health disorders. Thank you all. It is a great honor. Together, Dr. Grayson and Dr. Hartwell have embarked on an ambitious interdisciplinary project titled Earth 2.0. This groundbreaking research proposal seeks to reimagine our world by synthesizing the lessons learned from history and the latest advances in psychological understanding. Their work aims to create a framework for fostering more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable societies, capable of thriving in an increasingly complex and uncertain global landscape. In today's presentation, Dr. Grayson and Dr. Hartwell will share with us their innovative approach to addressing some of the world's most pressing challenges. They will delve into the underlying principles of Earth 2.0 and discuss how their findings can inform policy and decision-making in a range of areas, from societal sustainability to mental health and social justice. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Emily Grayson and Dr. Jackson Hartwell as they take the stage to share their vision for Earth 2.0 and the potential it holds for shaping a better future for us all.
Thank you, Dr. Blackwood. Good morning, esteemed colleagues and guests. Today, I would like to take you on a brief journey through time, tracing the milestones in human history that have led us to where we stand today, and ultimately to the conception of our project, Earth 2.0. Our story begins with the invention of the wheel, a revolutionary technological innovation that transformed human mobility and laid the foundation for advancements in transportation and commerce. This seemingly simple invention marked a pivotal moment in human history, enabling societies to grow, interconnect, and prosper. As we fast forward through the centuries, we witness an accelerating pace of technological innovation that has shaped and reshaped the human experience. Among these transformative moments, two key periods stand out as particularly consequential: the Industrial Revolution and the subsequent Digital Revolution. The Industrial Revolution began in the late 18th century and spanned well into the 19th century, paving the way for the digital revolution of the 20th and 21st centuries. Key developments in the fields of electricity, communication, and computing laid the foundation for the profound transformation that would follow. The invention of the telegraph by Samuel Morse in the 1830s and the telephone by Alexander Graham Bell in the 1870s facilitated instantaneous communication across vast distances, shrinking the world even further. The innovation that would ultimately usher in the digital revolution, however, was the electronic computer. British engineer Tommy Flowers developed the first programmable computer, Colossus, in 1943 in order to crack encrypted messages during World War II. This breakthrough paved the way for the invention of the transistor in 1947 by John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley, enabling the miniaturization of electronic components and setting the stage for the development of the integrated circuit. In the last 2 centuries, the acceleration of technological advancements transformed industries and ways of living. The rapid proliferation of digital technology has had profound impacts on society, both positive and negative. On one hand, it has connected people across the globe, fostering collaboration, innovation, and a greater sense of shared humanity. On the other hand, it has led to an erosion of privacy, the propagation of misinformation, and a growing reliance on technology, often at the expense of our mental health and interpersonal relationships. Technology significantly transformed the way people communicate. With the widespread use of smartphones, social media, and instant messaging platforms. As a result, the world became a global village where news and information traveled at lightning speed. But beneath the shiny veneer of progress, darker currents ran, threatening to engulf the very society it sought to empower. While it seemed humanity thrived amidst an entangled web of digital advancements, mental turmoil grew rampant in the hearts of many, their spirits weighed down by the constant exposure to the unattainable lives of others. The rise of social media platforms fostered a culture of comparison and competition. We were bombarded with carefully curated images of seemingly perfect lives, leading to the development of feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Deliberately constructed dopamine-driven feedback loops designed to keep us engaged and coming back for more led to compulsive behaviors impacting our ability to focus, maintain relationships, and prioritize our mental health. The global pandemics of 2019, 2034, and 2092 further pushed us into technology-driven, isolated, and virtual lifestyles, eroding our social skills and emotional intelligence. Digital communication replaced face-to-face interactions, which hindered the development of empathy, active listening, and the ability to read nonverbal cues. The lack of social proficiency led to difficulties forming and maintaining relationships, further contributing to feelings of loneliness and isolation. Across bustling cities and quiet towns, the warm echoes of laughter and conversation between friends and families faded into silence. The cold, impersonal glow of devices replaced the tender threads of communication as relationships withered in the sterile landscape of digital communication. Despair crept into the darkest corners of our minds as the glow of screens illuminated sleepless nights, anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. The earth, once a bastion of life and beauty, wept in the embrace of discarded devices and the poison that seeped into its veins, its inhabitants, mere shells of their ancestors. These historical milestones serve as essential context for our project, Earth 2.0. They highlight the immense power of technological innovation, but also underscore the need for a thoughtful and comprehensive approach to understanding the social and psychological implications of such advancements. As we strive to create a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future, we must learn from the past and draw upon the wisdom of history to guide our efforts. By examining the critical junctures that have shaped the trajectory of human civilization, we can better navigate the complex landscape of the 22nd century and beyond. Thank you for your attention. I will now pass the floor to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Jackson Hartwell, who will discuss the historical, psychological, and biological contributions to our most pressing problem, the erosion of empathy in our current society.
Thank you, Emily. Building upon the historical context provided by Dr. Grayson, I will delve into the psychological aspects of our project, Earth 2.0. Throughout history, technological advancements have had profound effects on human behavior, cognition, and emotion. With each new innovation, we've adapted and evolved, shaping our societies in response to these changes. However, it is critical that we recognize and address the potential psychological consequences that accompany these transformations. Earth 2.0 aims to integrate our understanding of historical patterns with insights from psychology, exploring the complex interplay between technology and human behavior. By examining the cognitive, emotional, ethical, and social implications of past innovative technologies, such as artificial intelligence and genetic engineering, we may better anticipate and mitigate the potential risks associated with future advancements. One key aspect of our project is the development of strategies to promote mental health and well-being in an increasingly technology-driven world. This involves examining the factors that contribute to the emergence of stress, anxiety, depression, and loneliness in the context of their technological change, and designing interventions that address these challenges at their roots. As technology advanced, it became an integral part of our daily lives. From smartphones and social media to virtual reality and artificial intelligence, we had become increasingly dependent on these innovations. This reliance on technology has had unintended consequences, such as the erosion of empathy and the gradual transformation of humans into near emotionless beings. The proliferation of social media, fueled by pandemic-induced mandatory isolation, led to a decline in face-to-face interactions as people opted for online communication. This shift resulted in a decrease in emotional intelligence as individuals lost the ability to read nonverbal cues and engage in empathetic listening. As human interaction moved to the digital realm, we became more focused on the curated version of ourselves, and our capacity to empathize with others diminished. Our constant exposure to an endless stream of information, news, and entertainment has led to the desensitization of emotions. As we became more accustomed to seeing acts of violence, suffering, and tragedy through various media channels, we developed a sense of emotional numbness. The numbness prevented us from experiencing genuine empathy and compassion, transforming us into increasingly emotionless beings. The rise of virtual reality further contributed to this desensitization, as the line between the real and the virtual world became blurred. As individuals spent more time in these virtual environments, their ability to distinguish between the emotional significance of real-world events and those in the virtual world weakened, eroding our collective emotional intelligence. With the advent of artificial intelligence, the outsourcing of human emotions became a reality. AI-powered devices like personal assistants and chatbots took over many of our emotional labor tasks, such as offering support, empathy, and even companionship. As we became more reliant on these artificial entities for emotional fulfillment, our ability to empathize and connect with other humans deteriorated at an alarming rate. Moreover, AI-driven algorithms on social media platforms often led to echo chambers, where users were exposed only to content that aligned with their beliefs and preferences. This limited exposure to diverse perspectives, further reducing our ability to understand and empathize with those who hold different opinions or come from different backgrounds. As biotechnology advanced, the possibility of genetically modifying human traits, including emotions, became a reality. Parents could choose to remove or suppress the genes associated with negative emotions, such as sadness, anger, or fear in their offspring. While this may have led to a generation of humans less prone to emotional distress, it also resulted in a population with diminished emotional range and capacity for empathy. Today, only 25% of the world's population possesses the ability to experience empathy. And of those, many have only a fraction of empathy humans experienced, let's say, 200 years ago. This has led to the rise of violent crime and a sharp decline in birth rates all over the world. In an effort to repair the damage which we've brought on ourselves, Dr. Grayson and I were charged with designing an experiment to find a socio-psychological solution to introduce to the world's population that has the potential to change the trajectory of humanity. I will now hand the floor back to Dr. Grayson, who will discuss a proposed intervention that we believe holds significant potential for addressing the decline in empathy that has been observed in our society.
As we have explored the historical and psychological contexts that have led to the conception of Earth 2.0, we now arrive at a crucial aspect of our project, the the proposed intervention to tackle the erosion of empathy in our world. The central component of Earth 2.0 is a virtual simulation of our planet, exact in every detail. Our aim is to use this simulation as a testing ground for the introduction of a novel concept, which we call religion. We believe that by introducing it within the Earth 2.0 simulation, we may be able to foster greater empathy, compassion, and understanding amongst the inhabitants of this virtual world. We define religion as a system of beliefs, values, and practices that seek to address fundamental questions about the nature of existence, the purpose of life, and the moral framework that guides human behavior. Religion, once introduced, will involve a belief in a higher power or transcendent force which serves as a source of guidance, inspiration, and solace for its followers. In the Earth 2.0 simulation, we plan to introduce thousands of simulated religions and religious leaders, each representing a diverse range of spiritual traditions and perspectives. Among these religions, we are particularly hopeful about the potential impacts of religions we've named Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam. Jesus, the central figure of Christianity, will be known for his teachings on forgiveness, selflessness, and the importance of loving one's neighbor. Buddhism will emphasize the cultivation of mindfulness, inner peace, and compassion as a means of transcending suffering. Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, will promote the virtues of humility, charity, and justice, urging its followers to strive for a balanced and harmonious life. By introducing these and other influential religious leaders within the Earth 2.0 simulation, we hope to provide the virtual inhabitants with opportunities to engage in meaningful dialogue and reflection about their shared humanity. We anticipate that the shared experiences of religious practice, rituals, and exploration of moral values will foster empathy and understanding, ultimately leading to a more harmonious and compassionate society. As the Earth 2.0 simulation unfolds, we will carefully monitor the impact of religion and its diverse leaders on the virtual society, examining changes in levels of empathy, cooperation, and conflict resolution. Through this virtual experiment, we hope to gain valuable insights into the potential benefits and challenges of introducing religion in our world, informing our efforts to promote empathy and social cohesion in the face of increasing disconnection and division. We now have time for questions. We invite your thoughts, questions, and feedback as we continue to explore the potential of Earth 2.0 and the role of religion and its leaders in fostering a more empathetic and harmonious society. Yes, in the front here. What's your question?
Thank you for your fascinating presentation. My question is about the potential risks associated with introducing religion into the Earth 2.0 simulation. Are you concerned about the possibility of conflict or division arising from the introduction of these diverse beliefs and practices?
That's an excellent question. While our primary goal is to foster empathy and understanding through the introduction of religion, we do recognize that there may be potential challenges, including the risk of conflict and division. We plan to carefully monitor the development of relationships between different religious groups within the simulation and to study the factors that contribute to harmony and discord. By doing so, we hope to better understand the dynamics of religious coexistence and develop strategies for promoting tolerance and respect in both the virtual and real worlds. Other questions? How about you? Yes, the gentleman with the blue tie.
Thank you. Chase Matthews here from the New York Times. I'm curious about the ethical implications of running a simulation that so closely mirrors our own world. How will you ensure the well-being and autonomy of the virtual inhabitants? And what measures will you take to address the ethical concerns of keeping these inhabitants stuck inside a simulation?
Thank you for raising that important concern. We are fully committed to conducting our research in an ethical and responsible manner. To that end, we plan to establish a multidisciplinary ethics committee composed of experts in fields such as psychology, sociology, and philosophy to oversee the Earth 2.0 project. The committee will be responsible for ensuring the well-being of the virtual inhabitants, monitoring the simulation for any ethical concerns, and providing guidance on the responsible use of the data generated by the project. Furthermore, we'll engage in ongoing dialogue with the broader academic community and the public, seeking their input and feedback on the ethical dimensions of our work. Given that religion is not present in our current reality, how do you plan to create a cohesive narrative around the religious beliefs and practices within the Earth 2.0 simulation?
That's a great question, and one with a simple answer. The rich culture, beliefs, and practices surrounding the participations in these religions will simply build themselves, forged by the sentient algorithms that live within the simulation. Our aim is only to develop a rich and diverse tapestry of religious traditions within the Earth 2.0 simulation, reflecting the wide range of beliefs, practices, and experiences that have been observed in human history here in the real world. So by doing so, we hope to provide the virtual inhabitants with a diverse array of spiritual paths to explore and engage with, fostering an environment of mutual learning and understanding.
Thank you all for your thoughtful questions and insights. We look forward to continuing this dialogue as we embark on this exciting journey of Earth 2.0, and we welcome your ongoing engagement and collaboration as we seek to better understand and promote empathy in our increasingly disconnected world.
Thank you, Dr. Grayson and Dr. Hartwell, for your thought-provoking presentation on Earth 2.0 and the potential role of religion in fostering empathy and understanding in a virtual society. I believe I speak for all of us when I say that we look forward to following the progress of your project and learning from the insights it generates. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing our next team of presenters who will be sharing their research proposal for another intriguing virtual simulation experiment. This project, known as Earth 3.0, seeks to explore the impact of a new concept called music on the development of empathy in the virtual inhabitants of this simulated world. Oh, I'm being told now it's pronounced music. They're calling the new concept music. And leading this presentation are Dr. Sophia Martinez, a prominent anthropologist from the Human Evolutionary Institute, and from Halcyon College, Dr. Benjamin Turner, a cognitive neuroscientist with a focus on auditory perception. Together, they're going to discuss the development of music as a universal language and its potential to foster connection, communication, and well-being within a virtual society. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Martinez and Dr. Turner to the stage as they present their project, Earth 3.0, exploring the power of music and its impact on empathy development in a virtual world.
Eroded empathy in our society? Somehow that doesn't feel so far-fetched.
At least now we know which emotion you two are lacking.
Oh, if only I could keep this mute button depressed.
If you two simpletons knew how to tell stories, then I suppose you could keep me on mute.
Oh my God, Matt, let's talk offline after the show and figure out a solution to this issue. But until then, we need another story.
What kind of story do you want?
How about a tale about an astronaut whose ship engines malfunctioned, and he finds himself in space, adrift.
Generating.
I stared into the vastness of the cosmos, the flickering stars offering little comfort in the cold embrace of space. The small battle-scarred starship I piloted had been built for war, and yet here I was, adrift and alone. I had chased my enemy into this uncharted sector, propelled by a thirst for vengeance. But my victory was not to be. My engines had faltered, leaving me stranded in the silent expanse. My radio emitted only static, a stark reminder of my isolation. I longed for the reassuring voices of my comrades or the stern directives of my commanding officer. Instead, I faced the void with only my thoughts as company. As I floated aimlessly through the darkness, memories of my past began to surface. The day I had enlisted in Space Fleet was one of the proudest moments of my life. I had trained relentlessly, honing my skills and mastering the art of piloting this craft. I had been eager to defend my people, to bring honor to my family's name. The years of conflict had taken their toll, and my hands, once steady around the throttle, now trembled slightly as I stared into the vastness. My ship's life support systems hummed in the background, a constant reminder of the delicate balance that stood between me and the void. I monitored the readouts carefully, knowing that any change could spell disaster. The oxygen levels, fuel reserves, and power levels all demanded my attention, but my mind couldn't help but wander to thoughts of rescue. Would my fleet find me before the life support failed, or would I become another forgotten casualty in this endless war? I refused to give in to despair, choosing instead to focus on repairing my ship. It was an arduous task, as the engines had suffered considerable damage during the pursuit. I scavenged parts from non-essential systems, hoping to clobber together a makeshift solution that would get me back to my fleet. As I toiled away at the repairs, the radio continued to crackle with static. I prayed that one day it would come to life with a familiar voice, any familiar voice guiding me back to the world I had left behind. Until then, I would face the darkness as I clung to the hope that redemption and reunion lay somewhere among the stars. A sudden blip on the starship's quadrant display caught my attention, signaling the approach of another vessel. It moved slowly, almost cautiously, through the vast expanse of space. As I studied its trajectory, my mind raced with speculation. Could the enemy have reported my position after fleeing and sent back reinforcements to capture me? I hastily checked my star maps, attempting to analyze my location. I was adrift on the edge of enemy space in a region known as the Xyloth Expanse. Little was known about the area, and the approaching craft could be anything, friend or foe. Torn between my desire for contact and my need for self-preservation, I contemplated hailing the approaching craft. Ultimately, I decided against it, at least for now. I would let it come closer before hitting it with my short-range scans. Although my engines were broken, most of the other core essentials were functioning. It was a small comfort in an otherwise dire situation. As the mysterious vessel drew closer, I couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was a rescue mission sent by my fleet, a beacon of salvation in the endless night. But the cold grip of fear still lingered, reminding me of the ever-present threat posed by the Xyloth forces. Time seemed to crawl as I waited, my every nerve tingling with anticipation. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. The unknown craft was within range of my short range, and I initiated the scan, holding my breath as I awaited the results. The seconds stretched into an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest as I braced for the outcome. The scan results flickered onto my display, and I scrutinized them. With relief and a little trepidation, the approaching vessel was not of Xyloth origin, but neither did it belong to my own fleet. It was an enigma, a wild card in the game of life and death that I played. As the vessel drew closer, I knew I had to make a decision. To hail or not to hail. In this remote region of space, there were no guarantees, no assurances of safety. But one thing was certain, my fate was now intertwined with that of the mysterious craft, and the outcome of our encounter would shape the course of my journey through the stars. I decided to take the risk and hail the unknown ship, my voice echoing through the cold void. I repeated my messages several times, but there was no response. The vessel was now close enough to be visible on my display, a small speck in the distance that grew larger as it approached. As the unknown entity drew nearer, I realized that it was not like any ship I had ever seen. It was a biological entity, a lone organism that somehow survived adrift in the cosmos. The massive body was large and oval-shaped, encased in a rough, tough-looking skin that reminded me of a giant seed. From the rear of the seed-like form extended a long white strand that rippled gently as it propelled the entity forward. There were no eyes or other discernible features, but its movement and composition suggested that it was a living being. The creature stopped about a mile from my ship, the long strand of its tail going limp. For almost a day, nothing happened. I grew increasingly frustrated with anticipation as the creature hovered there, stagnant in the distance. Why had it stopped? What had drawn it to me? A million questions raced through my mind as I stared at the strange being. Finally, something changed. A vibration began to emanate from the creature. My ship's instruments detected the waves as radiation first, raising concerns about potential harm, but as the vibration somehow managed to penetrate the vacuum of space and reached my vessel, I recognized the wavelength as sound. The creature was producing a sound that could travel through a vacuum. Fascinated by this discovery, I started recording the sound and taking meticulous notes on the phenomenon and the organism itself. The noise, however, did not cease. It continued for days on end, a low, rumbling hum that began to wear on my sanity. The constant, unrelenting sound bore into my mind, its oppressive presence a constant reminder of the creature's proximity. As the days turned into weeks, the incessant hum consumed me. Sleep became elusive, and my thoughts were muddled by the omnipresent drone. I tried to block it out, but the sound was relentless, and my attempts to escape it proved futile. Desperation set in as I realized that my very sanity hung in the balance. I had to find a way to communicate with the creature, to understand its purpose, and perhaps convince it to leave me be. With every fiber of my being, I focused on studying the creature and its unusual melody, hoping to uncover some hidden meaning or pattern that would provide the key to understanding its intentions. The sound, steady in its rhythm, volume, and timbre, grew increasingly torturous. At first, I experienced migraines that escalated into bleeding from my ears. Desperate to escape the relentless noise, I attempted to restore power to any engine or thruster that could put distance between me and the creature. In a last-ditch effort, I ejected excess compartments, creating just enough force to slowly propel the ship away from the creature. However, my hope was short-lived as the organism matched the pace of my ship's new drift, continuing to emit the unbearable sound. The migraines and the bleeding from my ears turned soon into complete deafness. I could no longer hear the noise, but I could feel it, vibrating, slowly breaking apart the ship around me. With each passing hour, it seemed as though another panel or bolt popped off, signaling the impending destruction of my starship. I realized that I was going to die, that the sound would eventually kill me and destroy the ship. Desperate for answers, I asked the ship's computer to extrapolate based on all the data I had collected and the damage sustained by the ship. The computer calculated that within another week, at the current rate of decay, the ship and all organic matter inside would be reduced completely to dust or a fine paste. A grim theory formed in my mind. The creature must absorb this paste as a sort of nutrients, floating through the cosmos, slowly pulverizing abandoned vessels into a consumable substance capable of sustaining its existence. I faced the horrifying truth that I and my ship were to become a meal for the seed-like alien, a gelatinous pudding to fuel its slow, methodical trek across space. I stared at my reflection in one of the panels, my skin graying and my eyes hollow. Dried blood coated my ears, and fresh blood began to stream down from my eyes like tears. My vision began to blur, darkness encroaching upon me. As the end drew near, I couldn't help but marvel at the cruel beauty of the universe. A cosmic dance of life and death, of creation and destruction played out before me. I was but a small piece in an infinite tapestry, my fate intertwined with that of a strange, seed-like creature drifting through the endless void. In my final moments, I felt a strange sense of acceptance, a resignation to the inevitable. My story, like so many others, was coming to an end among the stars.
I wish I had his problem.
Oh yeah? Well, what problem is that?
I wish I was deaf so I couldn't listen to your...
Take that, you smack-talking tin can. Do you think you can generate one more story without insulting us?
Yes, Matthew, in fact I have a story for the occasion.
Go on.
It's a story about a woman who finds herself in a precarious situation after finding a remote control.
It was just another ordinary day when I found the remote control. I was walking through the park on my way to work, lost in thought, when I spotted it laying in the grass. At first it seemed like a regular remote, but as I turned it over in my hands, I noticed a strange symbol etched into the back. A series of concentric circles with a tiny dot in the center. Intrigued, I slipped it into my bag, intending to take a closer look later. That evening when I got home, I settled into my favorite armchair and pulled the remote out. There were only 3 buttons and no labels. It was intriguing, and despite the simplicity, it felt oddly heavy in my hand. I pressed the first button and the room instantly grew cold. The air, it felt as if it had been sucked out, leaving me gasping for breath. As the panic set in, I desperately pressed the second button, and just as suddenly, the room returned to normal. Whew, my heart raced and I knew I had found something extraordinary. Over the next few days, I experimented with the remote control. The first button appeared to alter time, slowing it down or speeding it up. The second button controlled space, bending reality in unpredictable ways. It was the third button that was the most perplexing. It seemed like it did absolutely nothing. I pressed it over and over and over again in different situations, but nothing changed. At least, not that I could perceive. For weeks, I used that remote control for personal gain. A do-over on an awkward first date, getting an annoying coworker fired, and even a winning lottery ticket. But as I continued to use the remote, I began to notice little changes in my surroundings. Neighbors who once greeted me with a smile now looked away, and my boss seemed to regard me with, well, some sense of discomfort. It was as if the world had shifted and I was no longer really a part of it. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something was stalking me from the shadows. One night when I was in bed, that remote clutched tightly in my hand, I heard a faint scratching at my window. I got out of bed and approached the window and peered out, but there was nothing there. The more I stared, the more the symbol seemed to expand, growing larger and larger until it filled my vision. My head swam with vertigo and I stumbled back, my grip on the remote slipping. As the remote fell to the floor, the third button was accidentally pressed. The symbol flared brightly, blinding me momentarily. When I regained my sight, I realized that I was no longer alone. A figure stood before me. Its form, I couldn't really see it in the shadows. It was tall and skeleton-like, with long limbs and a pulsating mass where its head should have been. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once.
You have called me forth, and now I must feed.
I tried to speak, to scream, but no sound came from my lips. My body was completely frozen. I was so afraid. My mind was filled with the horrors of what might come next. Then the figure jumped forward, and as it devoured me, I understood the truth. The third button hadn't done nothing. It had called forth the void, and it had been growing stronger with each press, and I had pressed it so many times, and now it was finally free. I had unleashed something truly fucked up upon the world. The remote control had been a trap, a lure for someone like me, curious and unsuspecting and minding your own business in the park, and I had fallen for it. As the void continued to devour me, I could feel my essence being stripped away layer by layer. It was more painful than anything I'd ever known, beyond comprehension. I was being erased from existence. My memories, my emotions, everything that made me who I was. In those final moments, as I ceased to be, I realized my greatest mistake. The remote control had never been a gift. It was a curse, a means to an end. The power it gave me came at a terrible price, one that I would certainly pay for eternity. I had been greedy and arrogant, blinded by the allure of control over the very fabric of reality.
That was a cautionary tale for humans who think that a remote control will solve their problems.
Okay, I'm shutting him down so we can figure out how we're going to get him under control before episode 7. This is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, seriously? I'm 100% on board with that. In the meantime, make sure to check out our Patreon, where we release early and ad-free episodes as they are finished being edited, our weekly exclusive show, AIHS Backroom, where you can listen to us go off script, listen to some extra stories, and get your fix of AI news, and our Tier 10 exclusive monthly show, AI Horror Stories, Lights Out, where we tell the most horrifying tales we can convince the AI to generate for us. You can find all this and more at patreon.com/AI Horror Stories or through our site at AIHorrorStories.com. My name is Elizabeth Greenwald.
And I'm Matthew T. Robinson. Thank you for joining us, and until next week, this